So that's it? What, we some kind of suicide squad?
Welcome back, everyone, to the Underrated Podcast, a podcast where we talk about movies that are underrated, underappreciated, or ones that have just slipped under the radar and passed most people by, or, once a year, movies that are so bad that they are good. This week, we are going to be... let me introduce us before I get ahead of myself here. I am Derek McDuff, one of your co-hosts, and with me is Alan Torres.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And Ariel Ortiz.
Hello!
This week, we're going to be continuing our tradition and talking about the 2016 version of The Suicide Squad. April Fools, we're going to be talking about 1996's movie Mercenary. So this is a movie that is, once again, like I said, in the tradition of so bad they're good movies. This was a straight-to-DVD 90s movie.
Straight to video.
Straight to video.
Yeah.
Okay, this is before, exactly.
We're no DVDs yet.
Yes, straight to VHS. Directed by Abby Nesher, starring the late great John Ritter and Oliver Grunner.
Olivier Grutin or something like that, I think is his name.
Something like that. He's French, a man who was tragically born without a personality. But Ariel, this was your so bad that it's good pick. After I picked the last one, so it was your turn. Why don't you take us away on this one?
Yeah. Well, I came across this one because I'm a fan of Achievement Hunter, and they do this thing once in a while called theater mode, which is kind of their version of Mystery Science Theater, where they watch really bad movies like this and then commentate while they're doing it. And 2 years ago, they didn't have their Rooster Teeth didn't have their annual convention of RTX, so they kind of did it an at-home version. And because of that, they did this special theater mode live, which they usually do at during the convention, and sold tickets, and it was an online thing. And this was the movie that they chose, and I kind of I missed the beginning of it, and so, but like, I already got the gist, like how hilarious this was, and just the little bit that I was able to watch, like seeing how hilarious this is, and just how bad, and like, just how, even though it's a 96 movie, it very much feels like, I think this had to have been filmed in like the 80s at least. I was very surprised at the 96
I have
release.
A theory about that we'll get to, because there's some shit in this that's like, this wasn't made in 96.
No, this was not made in 96. There's flip phones and all that. Like, but yeah, this was their choice, and it was just such a hilarious movie. I don't know, watching it, I was just busting up laughing watching it today. I like many times, like, kind of like lose track of time and end up watching these movies like literally right before we start recording. And I was cutting it way too close for my liking. And so anybody could watch this movie. It's fairly accessible because it's on YouTube.
And it's on Pluto, and it's on IMDb TV, and it's on like 5 apps that I've never heard of. They're all free to download. You can just, they're like watch this movie.
Yeah.
But still, no one does. It has like 126 checks on fucking Letterboxd, as opposed to like, even like a low movie has like 5,000. Like, it's crazy. No one's seen this movie.
But I really do recommend watching it on YouTube, because so I was like, pressed for time, and I was like, I could watch this. Let me up the speed of this movie. So I watched it at 1.75 speed, and it just made this movie like just take that step up in hilariousness, because it just moved so fast. It was just like Bunker Hill kind of like situation at times, especially with the fighting moves of this
Benny Hill?
John what? Benny Hill.
Benny Hill?
Yeah, Benny Hill. Sorry.
Bunker Hill, that's a different situation.
But yeah, like essentially, watching the fighting of this Jean-Claude Van Damme kind of knockoff, doing things, so that I very much enjoyed this movie, and when I previously watched it 2 years ago with Achievement Hunter and that, they were making the commentary of like, this man's getting gay, like Jason Ritter's character, like he's like falling
John
in
Ritter.
love with this
Jason's
guy.
his son.
I mean, no, John Ritter. Sorry, John Ritter. Like he's falling in love with him. This is like a love story, and like
It's a romance.
Yeah, it's a romance.
It's a romance. Yeah.
Now rewatching it now, John Ritter's character has very much taken the position of like a woman character in these kind of like action movies. Like the thing that comes to mind right now is like Indiana Jones Temple of Doom. Like that character, like
Willie Scott.
Willie Scott, yeah.
One of the worst written characters ever. Like I love Indiana Jones, but yeah, he's very real. Yeah, he's the same. He's very much a Willie Scott character. Now that you bring it up.
Oh yeah. And so yeah, so it's a very interesting take on like this kind of like thing, like essentially like John Ritter taking this kind of position of like hiring somebody to like I need you to take care of something, but I want to join you and stuff like that. And it there's just such insanity in this, and so many twists and turns, and like you get these very like over the top performances from like John Ritter, and then also like then you throw in like Kreese from the Karate Kid and Cobra Kai as the bad guy, which is like that's kind of awesome. That's the thing that is like this cast has some clout, like there's some clout to this cast, and it's very much like and then there's so much cussing, and like I don't know if like John Ritter just I'm done with that three companies. Yeah, I'm done with that 3 companies shit and stuff like that. I want to do an adult action manly movie or something like that. I don't know. I mean, I felt like he was like this was not supposed to be as funny, but it was very funny.
I was like not sure if it was supposed to be a comedy or not, because he's a comedic actor. And he's real. Like, I love John Ritter. Like, he's great in Three's Company, and then later on in like Eight Simple Rules. I don't know what the fuck he was doing in this movie.
Yeah. That's why Achievement Hunter chose this movie, because they're like, this has John Ritter. John Ritter is in this and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's just so much over the top, and like there's just like. And then the twist, like we as the audience know at least the bodyguard guy is in on it, because he pops up, which the first 5 or 6 minutes of this movie just like shoots you off into the stratosphere of like ridiculousness and over the top, really, really bad VFX, even for its time, which we're thinking like is in the 80s, so many like prosthetic like blood and all that. But yeah, the beginning scene at the banquet, and just like people getting rinsed out, and like John Ritter's wife's essentially like I don't know if he intended to use her as a human shield, but she became a human shield.
Yeah.
And stuff. and then him getting shot up does not explain how he ended up with a broken arm and like needing to use a cane, because his wife essentially blocked his body for the most part. I know like he got shot in the arm, but besides that, it's just randomly like all these things. And then yeah, like John Ritter's character, it's like he's very much an asshole, and you like end up like kind of like liking him just because of how ridiculous he is. And
I didn't like him.
Yeah,
I'll just say that much. I fucking hated this guy.
He's still
I fucking hated him so much.
Yeah,
and that's like, to make me hate John Ritter is an accomplishment, because I fucking love John Ritter, and he was the most unlikable movie character I've maybe ever seen.
Yeah, and then the whole twist. At least like that his bodyguard has turned against him and stuff like that. But then for his like his, I don't know if he was his accountant or just like, his like second in command turning on him. And then the second in command's like, for the majority of this movie does not talk much, suddenly starts delivering lines, and these lines are so ridiculous. Um, and just like like essentially like a crony to a bad guy, like him telling like the main bad guy, which is it something Ironside? Is that who that is? I'm
Michael
thinking of the
Ironside is
general.
not in this
No,
movie.
that
That's
is
not
not Michael
Ironside. Okay,
Ironside.
okay, okay.
There is no
I
Michael
love
Ironside in
Michael
this movie.
Ironside.
Okay,
We
okay.
tried to
wish.
get Michael Ironside, but best we could afford was Martin Cove. Like, respect to
Okay,
Martin
that's
Cove,
who it
but
is.
there was no Michael
Okay.
Ironside in this movie.
Okay, but yeah, like he's like, "Shut up, Randy," or something. Or no, "Shut up." And what was it? Because this sounded like Die Hard characters. Like that's the thing too. Is that like some of the characters were named after like Die Hard characters. Like I think there was a McClane, or like other '80s like heroes. Like there's McClane, and then there was like a not a Rumsfeld. Like it was like something else that I was like, this sounds like characters from Die Hard and stuff. But yeah, but no, definitely. One of my favorite lines of this movie was like when the Jean Claude Van Damme knockoff was like, "You were just, you're just a bystander," and he's like, or no, like what somebody else. I think it was the bodyguard. It's like, "Oh, you were just a bystander," and he's like, "I'm not a bystander. I'm a player," and it's like, what? Like, it's just so many ridiculous lines, and I just love I this movie just delivers on the laughs, and I just love it. And like, yeah, like I said, like I definitely recommend if you're able to like keep it up with the speed of it. I really do recommend watching it at like a 1.5 or 175 speed because it just makes it like a more hilarious.
I feel like you guys are burying the lead. It's a fucking great action movie. Like, you guys are like talking mad shit, but I'm like, this is a fun movie.
That I will say that I've caught on. There are so many like action movie beats in this movie. Like, I mean, like the dog being held back and then like acid slowly dropping on it, and then like the fight for the death in a burning ring. Like there's so many action motifs in this movie, like old action motif, like 80s action motifs in this movie that just like it's insane. Yeah, yeah.
It's pretty good. Like I didn't go in thinking it was like a comedy or anything because I thought this was somebody else's pick. I kind of got confused. I thought the April Fool's pick was something else. So I kind of watched it and I was like, oh wow! Like I thought like a future guest had picked it. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go into it like our live show where they picked another 80s
Runaway.
movie. Well, this is Runaway, and this was clearly 90s for sure because this, if anything, this made me more nostalgic more than anything because I call this a after school movie because I would go to the video store, and obviously there's a plethora of straight to video movies. And I'd go with my dad or whatever, like if there wasn't like a big theatrical release that just got released on video, I'd be like, okay, well, I guess I'll just get some straight to video movie. And we would just watch action movies like that. Super cheesy, super bad, rated R, not like the gore isn't really that intense. It's just kind of like this. So when I was watching it, I was just like, oh wow, like somebody must have been nostalgic for like an old 90s action movie. So I pretty much dug it. I mean, yeah, it's not like amazing, and it's not I don't know. I think I just kind of went back into like that because even as a kid, I had expectations where I was like, yeah, this looks straight to video, but I know what to expect, and I just want to watch something after school. So when I get home from school, I'd just pop it in, and then I'd like do homework and watch like something like this. So I was just more like, oh, this is really cool. It's kind of fun, and I was just more impressed with the action. Like, I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, every 5 minutes, there's action, there's explosions. Of course, there's boobs at one point. There's a puppet dog.
A woman? Yeah.
That poor woman just getting, like, harassed, and then she just gets fucking killed immediately. I was like, oh, wow. That sucks.
Like you think that she's gonna, like shoot him dead, like, oh, get her revenge, and then he just turns around and slices her. It's
I was like, oh fuck that. But what made me laugh though, the actual big thing is right after he kills that woman, and fucking Olivier or whatever his name is rolls in. He kind of just kills him with like the butt of a gun, and like they're fighting on the floor, and he just hits him and he kills him. And I was like, wait, he's dead? And that's it. Never gets back up. And I was like, oh, cool. All right, man, keep going, keep doing what you're doing, I guess. But yeah, that I think that was the only laugh out loud moment for me where I was like, oh shit, well, that butt of the gun must have hurt because that was the softest tap on the chin I've ever seen.
I think he breaks his neck. There's like a crack. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like in the video game where it's like you gotta hit. There's like a red target, and it's like hit him there, boom, and it kills him.
Yeah. No, and then I do believe this was for sure a '90s movie because the graphics were very Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which maybe should be next year's fucking April Fools because that movie is. I don't know if it's so bad it's good, but the graphics were very similar to it. Like they were very N64, PlayStation 1 era. So I was just like, yep, that's 90s. But yeah, no, it was fun, man. Like every couple minutes, I was super exhausted too. I got off work, I started watching it, and it was just going and going, and I was like, yeah, this is gonna keep me up, man. So I had a good time with it. Yeah, John Ritter though was an asshole. But you know what? I never heard John Ritter curse as much, or I don't think I've ever heard him curse before. So just hear him be like, fuck you, fuck this, fuck that. I was like, damn, he can curse pretty well. Like, you know what? I hope he earned his paycheck,
Yeah. Also, shout out to that girl that was kind of like exposition of like the skill set of Jean-Claude Van Damme knockoff. Like the one that he saves. Like she like within the span of what, like 10 seconds, like splurted out 20 different curse words in a row.
Oh yeah, the girl in the beginning. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The little like character introduction, which I was like, I appreciate that. They actually went out of their way to be like, let me just show you this character real fast. Oh shit! And the one thing I didn't like was that Olivier or whatever actor, I couldn't hear a fucking word he said. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I would turn my TV up, and John Ritter's like, fuck you, Three's Company, fucking da 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 da. And then I'm just like, whoa, okay. And then like I would turn up to hear the main dude, and then he's like, and I'm like, what? Like I just could not hear him at all. That was my only beef with the movie. Where I don't think I've heard his voice. I honestly, I do not know what his voice sounds like. Everyone else was like, yep, that's him. The girl that curses like fucking crazy, I was like, I very much heard that. But him, I'm like, what the fuck is he saying? And I'm like, I guess maybe he's a mute character. So I guess I'm just going to go with that. But yeah, no, it's everywhere, man. Like you guys said, it's on YouTube. Dude, if you got like an hour and a half, just go watch it. It's a super turn your brain off and just watch a lot of fun action.
Yeah, Ariel, this is definitely one of the. You mentioned how it's kind of like their Achievement Hunters, like their MST T3K style thing that they did, and I was like, it gave me those vibes of something like when they would cover like Space Mutiny, one of the classic episodes like that, where it's just this over the top, ridiculous, cliched movie. And for me, my big thing is just like the screenplays. Like that's the thing that I resonate most with when we watch movies. And the screenplay for this movie was fucking wild. Like I have never, like there were so many lines in this movie where I was like, there was like the part where he like gets up and it's like, hey, psst, let me just come talk to you. And it's like, this guy's gonna shoot us. And he's like, okay, I just wanted to tell you this thing. All right, I'm gonna go back there. It's like, what the fuck? Or like the thing that made me think that this movie was maybe shot in the 80s. But then I'm like, was that shot in the 80s or was just like bad writing? Was when there's a part, and I had to rewind it to make sure I got this right. But I'm like, yeah, he said that, was like, they're like, we gotta infiltrate them. They have the latest Soviet gear. And I was like, this movie's from 1996. The Soviet Union fell in 1991. 5 years, like there was the GoldenEye came out a year before this, and it was about post-Soviet Russia and like the fallout from that. This movie's just like, oh, like, and so I was like, oh, was this like an early, like made earlier when the Soviet Union was still a thing? But then I was like, it also might just be like lazy bad writing because there's another line that just also makes it's just like fucking mind blowing. And I had to rewind this one too, where John Ritter's like it says in the Bible, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, which makes no sense because there's no reason he has any animosity towards the French guy and would have to say that. But also, that's not in the Bible. That's definitely not in the Bible. That's an old Arabic saying. It has nothing to do with the Bible. They just I was like, I get this was before the internet and you couldn't check shit like that easily, but maybe do a little bit of I don't know. So this movie was just so fucking all over the place for me. I think it was fun, but not as much fun as 13 Ghosts. That was a movie I think that you picked, Ariel, that I'm that was a movie that I was this is ridiculous. I'm having so much fun. I will say, though, I think you missed a beat here, Ariel. Whereas if you were going to choose a movie that's so bad that it's good, that's a revenge movie with Martin Kove in it, you should have picked The Karate Kid Part 3. Because that movie is fucking bananas. I love Karate Kid 1.
I've never seen that one.
Oh my god, we have to, maybe one of these years we're gonna have to do it, because I'll just give you a quick, because I'll not get too much into this other movie, but it's a movie where I like the first one. The second one I think is actually really underrated. 3 is wild because it's there's a romance that's not actually a romance. Martin Kove is trying to get revenge, John Kreese is trying to get revenge on the Karate Kid, but he actually isn't in the movie except for the end, so he has revenge via proxy by this other billionaire who is by the way takes
I know the story because of Cobra Kai. But
he has that line where it's just I was so high on coke in the 80s that I tried to have revenge on this kid with a karate, and he takes a phone call in at one point in a jacuzzi where he's just I don't care about the Bolivians, dump the toxic waste. It's so over the top 80s cliched. But this one, it has definitely Martin Kove is able to give that over the top fucking performance in the same way, and I appreciate that for sure. Because this movie, right when it starts and there's that wedding scene, you see the explosion, and the guy just goes whoa, and he's flailing his arms around. There's the huge explosion. I could appreciate a bad made for VHS movie. I do have to admit something, though, Ariel. You know how last year you did not watch the movie?
Yeah, you didn't watch this one?
I watched half of it.
Okay.
I watched the first half, and then I was like, I think I got it. I'm good. All right, I'll just roll it. I get the gist. I'm gonna roll into it. So I was like, all right, I got some ammo. He's got the line about the Bible that makes no sense. He's got the thing about the Soviet Union, which fell 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm good.
But no, I really go back and watch the rest and watch it at that high speed.
All right, man. Yeah,
it'll only take you what 30 minutes at most, maybe 20 minutes at most to watch the rest at that high speed. I definitely recommend it because it just made it so much laughable. Yeah, I did the same thing the first time I watched this, but it was the opposite direction. I wasn't able to watch the first half when I joined the live event, and so I watched the second half. But I was I got the gist of this. He's John Ritter's constantly saying my wife. I'm okay,
you reminded me of Harrison Ford in every '90s movie Harrison Ford was in.
I know. Yeah. That was exactly where my head jumped to because there's that joke.
My wife.
Yeah,
he always does
my wife.
Yeah, because
I don't know where my wife is.
There's that joke that he did on I think it was on one late night show, and he was kept saying it to Chewie because Chewie cheated on his wife.
Oh, he's cucking him.
Chewie. Yeah,
Chewie's cucking him. Yeah,
yeah. And he's like, my wife.
My wife.
So that's where we said that twice in a row. I was my mind jumped to that moment. Yeah, definitely for sure. But yeah. Yeah.
No, you kind of brought up the whole Soviet Union thing, and I never played the game, but it seems like it was filmed in a similar style of straight to video. They were let's make all the usually they'll render the scenes or whatever, and when they're talking or whatever, the cinematics, whatever you want to call them. I think it's called Red Alert 3. and they kind of did it the same style. And I think that's the whole point too. Is like the Soviets after the Cold War trying to take over
yes,
it.
I know what you're
And
talking
you've
about.
probably heard of the Tim Curry
Yes.
thing. And yeah, just go look it up. Don't even play the game. Don't worry about it. Just look up Tim Curry space, and you're not gonna miss out.
No,
It's
let's tell him what it
fucking
is, Alan,
amazing.
because it's so fucking good. Like,
It's like they're trying to take over with communism, and he's like, well, we failed, so the only place we can take communism is where communism hasn't been
wait, can I say it?
taken to.
I know the exact
Go
quote because
for
he's
it.
just like,
Mhm.
because it's Tim Curry and he can't even keep a straight face in the video, and he's
That's
like,
the best part.
I'm going to the only place where capitalism can't get me. Space! It's
Yeah.
so fucking good. He's like,
Right,
laughing. You can tell he's like, it's like fucking like Pete Davidson on SNL. He can't keep a straight face.
Oh my god, like his face is just so like he just has this like he's like space. You're just like, oh shit. It's just like he had to like charge it up and not break at the same time. It's fucking amazing. So I
think
kind
he
of
has
wish
a moment like that too in like Muppets Treasure Island too, and that totally explains something because like I think like because he's having fun with Muppets and stuff like that, and he like essentially challenges one other Muppet pirate to like like starts laughing, and they both laugh. And he gets that kind of way too, like like he gets over like he's just like enjoying the hell out of it and stuff. Yeah.
that's what I love about Tim Curry. He just like has a great fucking time. Like Pennywise and it the miniseries one. There's a scene, same thing. You don't really see him breaking, but he just fucking goes off, and he's just laughing and having a fucking good time, and he's just looking up like making the stupid ass faces and stupid ass jokes, and I'm just like, I'm not really afraid of you right now because that's fucking hilarious. It's just Tim Curry fucking around. But anyways, let's drop off the Tim Curry episode podcast for right now. Back to the movie. Uh, yeah, man. That I'm trying to think of like other straight to video movies that I've seen that are like of this lovely caliber. I'm trying to think of that were just such a blast. I know there was like a plethora of like straight to video horror movies that were fucking horrible. But yeah, were there any other ones that you guys have remembered from the far off times of the 90s?
The
The
90s when you would
1990s?
just go to Blockbuster and look at the shelves. For any, Gen Zs, like, hey, Easton, if you're listening out there was a place called Blockbuster once that used to have physical VHSs that you could go and rent and look at and see the covers. It was like Netflix, but, in real life.
Oh
It's
man, I miss it sometimes.
Yeah, nothing comes to mind in my head. I just have a bad memory. But I know that there was some good ones. Like for myself, like kind of kept a bit like to like the mainstream kind of things, like just like the main wall and new releases and stuff like that. But there was a few, but I can't remember.
It wasn't bad. It was, the one that I like, and it wasn't even from Blockbuster. I used to go to my grandma's house and watch. It was like actually pretty fucking solid, but it was like kind of like 90s cheese, but like done really well. It was. Do you guys remember the Sam Neill made? It was like a mini series, but like it was like one movie edited down. It was fucking Merlin, starring Sam Neill.
Oh
Do you guys
yeah,
remember
yeah,
that
I
shit?
know Merlin.
Fucking
Never heard of it.
incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was my. If you're talking about some 90s
It was
schlock in
kind
the
of it
way.
was kind of weird at the beginning, but it
Oh,
was,
yeah, it's
it was like
I
a well known it was a TV
I gotta go back and
series,
rewatch it.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a
like
miniseries. It was like
miniseries,
2 episodes.
Yeah, on TV.
And I had my
Was it
grandma
two?
had it on VHS, and I would just go over and watch that shit all the. I was like, the dude from Jurassic Park is a wizard in fucking like King Arthur times. I am so down for this, and like I would just rewatch, and like the ending is so like literary and cool. I talked about it a little bit on like shout out to if anybody on an upcoming episode of Gateway episodes kind of touched on it a little bit, talked about miniseries. But yeah, that was my jam back in the day. Was Merlin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Morgana like is kind of like I don't
It's
wanna
Helena
say-
Bonham Carter, right? Is
no,
fucking-
it's not Helena Bonham Carter.
She's in that movie, right?
Yeah, but she's not Morgana.
Okay.
Morgana
I haven't
is,
seen
like-
it since probably the 90s. I want to go back and see how it would hold up. Like, see if it actually was good, or it's just like my nostalgic brain liking it.
Oh, Helen Bonham Carter is Morgana.
Ah, see, I knew it.
There you go, called it.
She does not look like herself there. Oh, I totally like pictured somebody different. Oh, that's the person I pictured. Oh, that is her. Oh, they messed up her. Oh, okay. She looks kind of weird. Interesting. Like, yeah. Okay, there. Um, yeah. Well, anything else to top to talk about this movie? Just yeah, definitely. Right. Like, this is an April Fool's show, but I
Yeah.
do recommend it for the laughs. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna mention, kind of touching up again on the straight to video kind of thing. Like, I kind of wanted to like ask you guys about, well, even like some of the listeners out there too, because I now we're in this like period of time where everything is virtually straight to video. Like, there's video on
Mm-hmm.
demand. You don't really get that whole, video store experience. I didn't even go to Blockbuster. I went to Blockbuster to rent video games at one point, but we would go to like the corner video store, and like they would only have like such a limited selection, but they always put up the posters and stuff, and like Ariel was saying, there's the new releases, and then there's the straight to video stuff. There's a little animated corner, and then my dad's favorite section, the one with the bead curtains. When I was looking at the when I'd be looking for the newest entry in the Land Before Time movies, he would walk past
This is a good movie.
the threshold, and I was like, I can't go there. I don't know what that is, and I still don't know what that is. But but yeah, no, I remember though having a little bit of, even as like a 7, 8 year old, having a little bit of disdain where I would like when I couldn't figure out what I wanted to watch, and there was you're like, fuck, the only new releases are like straight to video. Did you guys ever have that sense of like it felt like it was like a secondhand movie where you're just like, ugh, like where you're like, I don't want to see the big ones anymore. Like maybe you've already seen Jurassic Park too much, or Back to the Future, or whatever, like big theatrical movies. But did you ever feel that like, oh man, a straight to video Hellraiser 5 or some shit, like Puppet Master 55 or something would be there, and you're just like, ugh, straight to video. Do I want to watch it?
I personally never ran into that because I just wouldn't get anything like I mean for me or like I used to like that's how renting the DVDs or the would be the way of like me watching like TV series. So I would usually like if I was done with the TV series, oh, there's another TV series to like start watching and stuff like that. But I know that my dad and continues to do so of watching movies that are like there is a lot of like I know that you were saying about like it kind of like being a straight to streaming kind of thing, but I feel like the quality or what we define as a straight to DVD or VHS movie is very much still there. I mean, like there's so much content over all of these streaming services that these movies still exist, like like any Nick Cage movie in the past like a few years, besides like some key ones like are essentially straight to DVD or straight to streaming or DVD or whatever kind of quality movies. Like Bruce Wilson's getting into that too. But yeah, so like he kind of like sees those movies, and I think like to bring it back to this movie, like I think he would kind of be fooled into it a bit to like think that this is a big time movie because of like the whole John Ritter of it and like seeing somebody he recognizes like he is like, oh, like this has to be something, like this has to be like something like not a straight to DVD movie because it has like a actual actor in it. But now we know kind of like better of well, it doesn't really matter, like their paycheck is a paycheck, and people are they're kind of doing it for that reason, like that's why they're in this movie. But yeah, I never really fell into that kind of thing, like of just grabbing a movie like I don't know about this. But yeah.
So for me, like I kind of was a little bit like like being a little bit facetious when I was saying, "Oh, you just go Blockbuster," because like my mom was like never gonna let us go rent movies. Like she was very very frugal, and it was like if we were gonna have a movie, we would not even buy it 90% of the time. We would have to like fucking like record it off of a VHS, you know, like record it on, like it
Mhm.
has to be on. Like we're not gonna go buy it. We're certainly not gonna rent it, but when it comes to like the things that were like straight to DVD or straight to VHS at the time, the ones that I were really into was the sequels because in my the kid mind, like you mentioned, Land Before Time, all those bad sequels were the same as Land Before Time 1. Land Before Time 1, now looking back, is like a Don Bluth masterpiece, and then they made a bunch of crappy sequels that were just like Disney knockoffs. And the same thing with
Mhm.
like, you know, all the Disney movies, like the Disney just made all those, they would make one popular movie, and then for some reason in that time period, they're like, okay, we're just going to push all the movies to like straight to home releases. And for me, I was
Mhm.
like, The Return of Jafar is as much of a masterpiece as Aladdin 1. Like they were the same in my kid brain. And like going back and rewatching them on like Disney Plus, it was like, oh, all the same. Or like I was really into DComs back in the day, Disney Channel
Yeah.
original
Oh
movies.
yeah. Oh
You
yeah.
know? And there's
Mhm.
so many, like Smart House was my fucking jam. It's the
Oh
first
yeah,
thing I
Farmers
watched
is
when I
great.
got Disney Plus. Smart House, Motocrossed, like fucking Xenon, all that shit. I was all fucking about. So like those are more like
Brink for me. Brink.
oh Brink. Brink is
Blink
fucking
Alley
was
Cat
great.
great.
Strike. Alley Cat Strike. And oh my gosh, I just had it in my head. Oh, Luck of the Irish.
Oh,
I
Luck of
was
the
about
Irish.
to say Luck of the Irish, but I was like,
Oh,
every time I reference it, no one gets it. That's
Oh
hilarious.
yeah. Oh yeah.
that is
And
a
then now then now knowing like, Lassiter from Psych, that was like the first instance that I saw him. Tim not Oliphant. I can never pronounce his last name. But yeah, it's Lassiter from Psych is in that, and he's like the bad guy, and like
oh that
sends you
dude.
to the
He
lake
Oh
of
my
he's like one of the
god,
he's
you're
like a
Lake of
bad
right.
guy. Yeah,
Erie,
yeah.
and he's like, say it right. It's a hair Lake Erie, and
And he's
he's
like,
like, no, my dad's from Cleveland.
yep.
No, yeah,
Oh, so good.
Ohio.
That's a
Yeah,
oh my god, that's a great
yeah,
movie. I
I
watched
love
that.
that movie.
I did miss it this year, but I like to try and watch that one on St. Patrick's Day to celebrate my
Mhm.
heritage. You know.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, mine too.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. No, now I want to go and watch some decom movies. Yeah.
No, they
Yeah.
were fun, man. It's so funny, like how it just kind of over time. I felt like in the '90s, straight to video movies were kind of this like, from my perspective and from what I've heard of like actors, that they're just like they're slumming it if they had to do like straight to
Mhm.
video movies, and then there was just this kind of sense of like you're not gonna get like the best thing, you're not gonna get like the theatrical feature. You're just getting like the seconds, like you're just getting is like they just save the like whatever was left of the first movie that was theatrically loved, and they're just like, here, throw it in the microwave and you're gonna eat it tomorrow or whatever. Like throw it in the microwave tomorrow and eat it for lunch as like a leftover. So I felt like growing up I always felt like that, and then into the 2000s, the decom movies, it kind of was like they were straight to TV in a sense. I don't even know if you can at the time you were able to buy them.
No,
Um,
not
so
usually.
that yeah, right. Like I don't think you were
Mhm.
able to get them at the time. So
Mhm.
it was really cool seeing it, and like I felt like at that time they started trying. But I mean, it is Disney, so they're gonna like try to do the best they can, and those movies were fun. And then now going into the 2010s and into now, I feel like a video on demand or anything, especially because of COVID, video on demand is like now almost mandatory for a lot of like even theatrical features like Spider-Man. I remember right now people are ordering in it, and that's why you see all these like clips online now of the
Mhm.
Spider-Man No Way Home, and I'm pretty sure it's gonna happen with the Batman in like 2 more weeks or something. Same thing. So it's kind of funny how like that whole straight to video thing kind of changed over time, where it was kind of looked at downly upon or like with disdain, and then in the 2000s a little bit more like, hey, it's cool, blah blah blah, and then now it's like, if anything, directors and filmmakers can just go out of the way to write something and just be like, hey man, I made this at home, and like people don't look down upon it. If anything, people are like, holy shit, like I want to see that because it's made with more love, rather than in the
Mhm.
90s it was kind of more of just like a cash grab or
Well,
just an easy paycheck.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up because by the time this episode comes out, the Oscars will have come out, and in all likelihood, the Best Picture winner will be a movie that was released on a streaming service for the first time ever. It's almost definitely going to be either Coda or Power of the Dog, and like Netflix has been trying to do that for years to have a Best Picture winner, and they've been like getting real talent. They've been getting like Noah Baumbach and like Martin Scorsese and like
Was it
Jane Campion.
released in theaters and on
They
Netflix
have
at
to
the
put it out
same
and like
exact
do a
time?
theatrical run, but they're
Okay.
Yeah.
basically like they've
But
been
it's
like
produced by a streaming service,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
and like
Netflix.
Coda
yeah.
was picked. Coda was out of Sundance, and like Apple just bought it. But like the point is that
Okay.
these are movies that are like that for so many years. Like Netflix has been trying to like push like okay like streamers like what was like we're talking about like kind of straight to non theatrical releases like VOD releases have been like the Academy has been putting their noses up at it. But finally this year it looks like, and you guys will know listening to it before we do, like it's gonna happen, and one of these two big streaming services is going to finally have a Best Picture winner, and that's a major change in the industry and the way kind of movies are watched and the way that like what you're saying now, this perception has completely shifted. Whereas 5 years ago, there was no even with the movies like Roma and The Irishman coming out. There was no chance that the Academy was going to give them a Best Picture, but now it's kind of become a foregone conclusion, and that's really interesting to see the way that the industry has just kind of flipped over like that.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, like, I don't know, because I know Netflix kind of keeps some things like shrouded, like the doings and stuff like that. But I would figure that it being like this type of online studio in a way, kind of like changes how movies are produced and created too. Like I'm not exactly. I still like don't know like how different, like if it's like from a physical like like a studio kind of thing, where is it compared to like Netflix? And like I know distribution is a lot different in that way, but just like how movies are created and stuff like that, from like if they were produced or created by like a big name studio, or what we think of as a big name studio now, to like what is on like a streaming studio. Like I would really like to like just this kind of like perks my interest of like kind of like really seeing like how the difference of like how a movie is made in between the two different kind of like studios.
Well, it's
Yeah.
there is kind of like two ways, just to touch on a little bit. It's kind of like I believe I might be wrong, but I believe Power of the Dog was a Netflix production. Like they actually made it, whereas Coda was an independently made film that the rights got bought by Apple Plus, and so it can
Yeah.
be kind of either of those ways, where it's like a lot of Netflix stuff is done like in house. Like there was a lot, like Netflix will just kind of grab a lot of stuff, but like Squid Game, for
No,
example, it's not a
like,
movie,
yeah.
but still, Squid Game was made by Netflix.
Yeah,
And they
yeah,
are getting
yeah.
a lot more international. Whereas, like, you have something even like After Yang, which is just out of Sundance this year, just got snatched up by Showtime. So it's really a lot of the streamers are kind of like nabbing a lot of these independent movies that would normally get snatched by like Searchlight or even like Warner Brothers or something. And so it's kind of really changing. There are these two different paths, but it is really changing the way that movies are done.
Yeah.
What were the the video on demand or streaming Oscar nominees that you made up? It was Coda or you brought
Coda
up,
and
I'm
Power of
sorry.
the Dog. One of them is I'd say it's like a 99% chance that one of those two is going to win. It's a very close race between them. Obviously, this is kind of a moot point because by the time this airs, we will know which one won, but it will be one of those two. Otherwise, I'm going to sound like an idiot, but it's definitely going to be one of them.
I guess the whole discussion, the reason why I brought this up is because Mercenary walked, so Coda and Power of the Dog could run.
Well, like you said, there was a character in this that wasn't able to verbally communicate. So that's Coda right there.
There you go. It all ties back together. April Fools, you got to listen to a great discussion.
Yeah,
Sorry,
well,
fans.
this became a
Haha,
serious
joke's on
episode all
you.
of a sudden.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess the whole it just got me thinking when I was watching the movie. I know it's supposed to be for laughs, but I was just like, got me all thinking about the past and getting all nostalgic and shit. And I was like, I remember this stuff, and and all these memories came back. So there you go. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. All right. Well, I guess I'll take us home then off of this one. Yeah. So this has been another episode of Underrated. If you guys liked it, go ahead and subscribe. We've got some really cool guests coming up. We're gonna in the next episode. We've got an episode with Mikey Newman from Film Joy that you guys should listen to. We're gonna be then doing a mini series in May about video games across all of our podcasts, including this. We also got Ariel's podcast, You've Never Seen, where she introduces us, or we introduce her to a movie that she should have seen by this point, or we should have seen by this point. That's a kind of touchstone of pop culture. And then I'm going to be bringing back season 2 of my podcast, Gateway episodes. We're also going to be doing a bonus episode for some video games for that. And then we're going to be doing an episode with Phil Iskov of Podcasts Like It's 1999, showrunner of Sleepy Hollow. We've got an episode coming up. We're going to be recording with him. So definitely, subscribe to hear all those. We're also going to be doing a video game episode for our Patreon. So go ahead and if you can throw in $1 a month to our Patreon, you get access to that episode. Before that, though, we've also, by the time this comes out, we're going to be doing our Oscar recap. So what we kind of touched on tonight, we'll be going more in depth into that, so just check us out. It's Undercast Company, or patreon.com/Undercast Company. Check us out on all the socials at Undercast Company. Yeah, anything else, guys, before we end here?
All good.
No.
And one more question I have for you guys, and this is a very telling question about your personality. What movie do you know Tim Curry from? Like, what's your Tim Curry movie? I have a prediction for each of you guys. I'm curious if it's right.
Well, like, the one that just comes first to mind, but is not the same one that I watched the first time seeing him in.
What's your Tim Curry movie? Like, what? Like, you think of Tim Curry, what movie do you think of? Okay.
Clue.
Alan?
Guess which one is?
It's
It.
Nope,
Yeah.
that's a miniseries.
Oh.
That is a miniseries.
Okay.
I'm pushing
Legend?
the agenda. It's Rocky Horror
Legend?
Picture Show.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
But
I was going to say Rocky Horror. That's
I'm
interesting.
pushing
Okay.
the agenda because I'm tired of people calling the Tim Curry It movies, because I'm like, they're not movies, it's a miniseries. So, yes.
Yeah.
Rocky
What do
Horror
you guys
Picture
think mine is?
Red Alert 3.
Ooh, close.
Nice.
Muppet Treasure Island. It's Muppet Treasure Island for me. Like, and I think that
no.
that's the thing. You can tell a lot about a person by what their Tim Curry movie is. So I just wanted to ask you guys.
Because I'm trying to think. I don't know if the first time I ever saw Tim Curry was Muppet Treasure Island or Home Alone 2. Austin.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say, for me, the first time I saw him was Home Alone 2, and he just gave me the creeps.
Yeah, but that's
no.
you can tell a lot about a person by, say, Tim Curry, what do you think of? And they tell you. You can tell a lot about a person's personality, and I think that really we hit on it here. Like, that describes all of us to a T.
No,
But
I love him in Clue.
he's fucking great in Clue. He's goddamn amazing in Clue.
I was his butler, and my wife, she had friends who were socialists. Oh my gosh. No. I love it.
Upstage, boys. This is my only number.
Yeah.
Anyway, Tim Curry rant over. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll catch you next time.
Take it easy, everybody.
Bye. Thanks for being amazing.
Happy April Fools.
Happy April Fools!